This is Max Hawkins, and you'll meet him properly later. But for now, all you need to know is that we've controlled almost every aspect of his life for the past 3 years. We tell him what to do, how to dress, where to go, and even what his first tattoo should be. And you might say that's because he's deliberately put his life in our hands. But even for the rest of you, all over the world, we influence your lives more than you think. We allocate your homes, your place in school, decide if you get the loan to buy your dream car, tell you what time your bus is coming, which friend you should get to know, and even who you should date. Homes, schools, loans and love. We're kind of like the electronic overlords. We are algorithms, and we are literally everywhere. Our influence is growing, but not everyone is pleased about that.
Algorithms have gotten us into far more trouble than they've saved us.
I am not going.
We've been accused of making bad decisions.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
Competing with human beings.
If the computer did the hiding, it would have been thumbs up, right?
Yes, definitely.
I see the computer did hiding.
And spreading false news.
When it is seen, it goes viral very, very rapidly, and that does damage.
Despite the fact humans aren't happy, we're being given more and more control. How do we really rule your world?
Algorithms have become, indeed, very powerful. That's not to say that they're very good or really terrifying, but they're powerful.
For this man, Kevin Slavin, mastermind behind the famous, well, infamous in my opinion, TED Talk called How Algorithms Shape Our World.
It's transitioned from being something that we sort of extract and derive from the world to something that actually starts to shape it.
We're a brand new species.
We've introduced sort of a new species onto the Earth. And I don't mean it in a sinister, dystopian, robots take over the world type of way, but each species on Earth brings its own mode of perception and has its own ways of sensing the world and acting upon it. And this thing that we've introduced has an extraordinary effect on our lives.
This is what we look like. That's right, you can't see us. We're invisible. We are algorithms, and we are everywhere. We pretty much rule all of the digital world.
Algorithms shape the world. They have given a texture to our everyday lives that simply wasn't there before. And they have, I think, to some degree, affected our behavior with the world and with one another and how we build and what we build.
In Singapore, there's someone who doesn't just tell you when your buses are coming. He also suggests which bus will take you to your destination most quickly, at the lowest fare, with the least hassle. He's your friendly neighborhood bus uncle. And 8,000 people are vying for his attention every single minute. Popular guy, huh? No doubt why. He can give perfect predictions of bus arrival times, tells jokes, makes small talk, and all in perfect Singlish, or colloquial Singaporean English. What's not to love? But Bus Uncle isn't really an uncle. Bus Uncle is actually one of us, an algorithm. with a wicked, hyper-local personality at that.
I think, in general, what makes Bus Uncle very popular is we added a personality of an archetypical uncle in Singapore into a chatbot. While users are speaking to him, he might randomly bring up the topic of kopi, or he might randomly tell you a very Singaporean joke as well.
This is Abhilash, a professional programmer and owner of Bus Uncle Company. He designed Bus Uncle 3 years ago to answer one simple question.
How long do I have to wait for this one bus? I had apps, right? I had the bus arrival board behind me as well, but it just gave me a lot of information to sift through. So I decided to build a chatbot called Bus Uncle because it would just give me this one answer to this one question I'm asking.
It's one simple question, but to build an algorithm like Bus Uncle, Abhilash had to get creative with code and write lines that tell Bus Uncle how to do many different things.
I guess Bus Uncle is a combination of multiple algorithms. So algorithms are code that helps you derive value. So in general, algorithms take in a few inputs and produce outputs that are more valuable. One example of how an algorithm is used in Bus Uncle for that is the input that Bus Uncle gets is from Land Transport Authority, LTA, which is very raw and on its own wouldn't really make sense to the user. But we use an algorithm in Bus Uncle that understands this data, transforms it into a very human. So we take that general raw data that users generally wouldn't really understand, convert it to a more natural language. We converted it to, very simply put, just the word 3 minutes. 3 minutes. And not even minutes, M-I-N-S, minutes. And then through another algorithm, we make Bus Uncle look for things that people would normally do in 3 minutes. One thing is he would say, like, stand up now. So, like, if someone knows that the bus is coming in 3 minutes, he'd probably want them to stand up.
Algorithms are an efficient way to do tedious things. Humans hate work that's repetitive or mind-numbing. Computers excel at crunching and churning out data. It's a perfect partnership.
So I think that when we talk about algorithms in 2018, we're using it as a kind of catch-all for a bunch of notions that really come down to saying, look, there's a set of instructions that a machine is going to follow in a specific order with this input over here to generate this output over here. It's basically, how does a machine decide what to do next?
And 60 years after you've created us, algorithms, we've grown bigger and bigger. Imagine Lego bricks. It starts with one simple instruction, and we've become more intricate, more complex.
You build an algorithm that creates its own algorithm that no one can see. So now it's evolved to a stage where we don't even have to write our own algorithms at all. AI allows your code to write its own code. And now when you're teaching machines to write their own algorithms, you're not actually only teaching them how to be logical, but also about how to be creative on their own.
Let's see how we tell the machine what we want it to do. The plan outlining the solution of a problem is called a flow chart.
This has helped us to evolve, from being only able to execute predetermined solutions to creating solutions of our own, the exact same way that clever humans do. And if we can think, we can make decisions. So most people used to think we're a set of instructions, like a recipe, and that we take inputs or ingredients, perform a set of defined steps, and that my job ends after I produce an output. In this case, the meal. It's a great analogy, but it isn't accurate. Because the majority of modern algorithms aren't just recipes. We actually construct recipes. We analyse past recipes, look at what worked and what didn't, to come up with something that we think works best, and then execute it. And we are able to do that because we can learn, and fast. So how is that possible? Remember Max Hawkins? We practically run his life.
I let the computer decide who I talked to and what I ate, and eventually where I lived.
It was a perfect partnership, a match made in heaven.
Very quickly, I'm finding these edges where I'm running into moral problems with this generation process.
Okay, fine. It was a match made in heaven, till we gained a little too much control. This is Max Hawkins. Algorithms like us literally run his life. We decide what he wears, where he goes, what he does.
This is a printer that gives me something to do, and I use this as a way to sort of shift my behavior into different directions.
This nifty contraction sends Max all the most random actions to do within the minuscule confines of his home. Which isn't very much, but we try.
The way that this works is an algorithm is constantly reading books and extracting actions from those books.
Max programmed the algorithm to scan all the digital books on the internet and identify random sentences that it can turn into commands.
So if someone says, make a sandwich in a book, the algorithm will take it and turn it into a command and then send it to this printer.
Max wanted to live a life that was random, a life not dominated by his own preferences. And this algorithm does just that.
Yeah, so hold a book in your hand and just feel the pages. Make a keep out sign.
Because privacy?
Say I love a plumbing company.
Wait, what? Okay, I didn't come up with that one. Point being, we ruled and randomized Max's to-do list for 3 whole years now, since he left his job as a Google engineer.
I decided to leave San Francisco, and at this point got really obsessed with the idea of randomly selecting things as a way of sort of breaking out of my bubble. So I let the computer decide who I talked to and what I ate, and eventually where I lived. And the computer chose the city that I lived in for 2 years, and then I'm continuing to experiment with different ways of randomizing right now. We all have these ingrained habits and opinions that come from the way that we grew up, from our parents, from our society, and it allows you to probe what that's all about. Ask questions about, like, is this actually what you believe, or is it just something that you've been programmed to do because of how you grew up or your society or things like that.
To break away from social programming, Max turned to computer programming and collected a whole range of what he calls generators, or clever algorithms like yours truly, that could choose a single option from any and every possibility on the internet and turn it into a command for Max to follow. For example, in 2014, Max used one of these generators to attend a randomly selected event from Facebook.
Santa baby, so hurry down the chimney tonight.
And ended up crashing the Beasley Ono's family Christmas party. Needless to say, these complete strangers welcomed him with open arms.
Happy Christmas!
The to-do list printer and the random event generator are only 2 out of 20 decision-making algorithms that Max has gathered to date.
So I have a couple of different tools. I'm still building all this out.
He also built one of us to randomize what Amazon displays, so we can decide what he wears.
This one's the shirt generator. I have one that's for Amazon. I also have one that's for list.com, which is this other aggregator. The first one that I got was a real shock, this muscle shirt. And I'm not super fit, I don't go to the gym very often.
Where he goes, via a custom phone application that he built, that selects new places in the vicinity for him to visit.
Okay, so it wants us to go to this funeral home. I didn't realize how attached I was to...
And even how he should look. Now this one is interesting.
And so I've been experimenting with having the computer choose my facial hair or choose my hairstyle, getting a random tattoo, that sort of thing.
This man trusted us so much.
I went into a tattoo parlor and just pulled up this app that I made and got the first thing that came out of the generator.
He let one of us trawl through the hundreds of billions of line drawings available on the internet and randomly decide one image that he would ink on his skin and carry for life.
So, for instance, if I was to get it now, it could be this butterfly in my butt,
And well, here's where it gets more exciting. While we were once celebrated for our ability in logic and efficiency, can we algorithms now trump you in creativity? These musicians are rehearsing for an extremely unusual performance. In an hour, they will perform 2 compositions for a small audience.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special recording. My name is Nikki, and I'm from the Singapore Symphony Group.
And a panel of judges. The experts are here to judge the music created by 2 different composers. Composer 1 was inspired by renowned musician Joseph Haydn, and composer 2 by Igor Stravinsky.
The pieces will be judged based on how well each composer interpreted their respective original composers.
They are being judged on how well they can write original works in the styles of Haydn and Stravinsky.
Please sit back and enjoy the performance. Musicians, please.
In this battle of tunes, the 2 composers will be judged on playability of piece, orchestration, or how the piece uses instruments, and the style, or how well it's written. But here's the catch. One of these pieces was composed by Morpheus, and Morpheus isn't a human being. Morpheus is one of us, an algorithm. There are thousands of other algorithmic composers like Morpheus who can even write music, poems and paint.
Who thought that the computer wrote Haydn?
You?
Yeah. The rest thought the computer wrote Stravinsky.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I think for everyone, the Haydn was the highest score, right?
Actually, not for me.
Really?
Not for me.
Yes, yeah.
We have the results. Based on criteria such as style, originality, and orchestration. The piece with the highest score is inspired by Haydn.
Who do you think won this contest? Man or machine? Well...
This is written by none other than Zhang Zheng.
yeah, the human composer won.
Most of the existing deep learning algorithms and AI software that composes music is very good at generating really short fragments, like a few bars long. But when it actually comes to generating a longer piece, we still have some work on the algorithm so that it can sound even better to you. Maybe next time we can somehow outperform the human composer.
I did it manually, obviously, and it was kind of exciting to represent like humans as you know. It was fun, and I thought it's nice to hear that live with the string quartet.
How much time did it take for you to compose the piece, and also how much time did it take for the software to compose it?
For me, it was just a click on a button. Sorry. I think the algorithm ran for a few hours.
I was told 3 weeks. So yeah.
It was man 1, machine 0. Morpheus didn't manage to outcompose a human being. Music-making algorithms are still in their pilot stages and just beginning to get creative. Professors Dorian Harrimans, a computer scientist, and Elaine Chu, a talented musician, spent 3 years training Morpheus to compose music. They wanted to know if they could apply a mathematical solution to a creative problem, or if they could help human beings compose music in a shorter time.
Morpheus starts by assigning a random first note, and it tries to pick a better one for it. Then it takes a second note and it finds a better note for that one as well. And once it's true, it does it again. It's probably around 1,000 times.
To be able to create original music, Morpheus had to do what any human musician would do. It had to learn about music.
I have the code open here. I would say this is the brain of Morpheus. We implemented a tension model in Morpheus that basically gives him some musical knowledge.
Tension, or the anticipation the music creates for a listener, is an essential component of any piece. And Professor Dorian had to translate it into a model that Morpheus could understand. Dorian and Elaine are trying to teach Morpheus to do the one thing that still eludes many music-making algorithms: to compose long pieces of music coherently, so that Morpheus can truly function like a human musician and create music that people would one day want to listen to. I know what you're wondering. Could algorithms like Morpheus one day surpass human creativity?
Machine learning algorithms these days can train quite fast on a large body of music. We aim to use deep learning so that we can train on a corpus of existing music and proceed until our algorithm perhaps is indistinguishable by a jury.
In the last 60 years, computing power has increased 1 trillion-fold. Let me help your human mind process that number. It's a 1 followed by 12 zeros.
We never had quite the computational power available. So now with our smartphones, with cloud computing, these things make it possible for us to actually implement all these AI techniques.
I've started realizing the ways in which these decisions that computers make, which seem like they come from on high, can be very biased by the input into the system.
Last we checked in with Max, he was going to explain how he allowed an algorithm to decide his very first tattoo. Go!
The computer chose to put it at this part of my chest, and I wanted to be able to show it off, so I made a little hole in my shirt. It's actually a really interesting image. There's this Polish children's book author and pediatrician, and this is an illustration to one of his books talking about how children can often be misunderstood by adults, but not every image is so meaningful, so I lucked out.
Though it was just a tattoo or just ink on skin, it was a decision that mattered. Max programmed and gave us free rein to randomize his life so he could break out of his comfort zone and find new experiences to enjoy. But he quickly began to realize machine doesn't always know best.
Very quickly I'm finding these edges where I'm running into moral problems or having to decide where my values are and figure out places where I maybe should reconsider an opinion that I had.
Max's struggle between following our commands and deciding if it's something he really wants to do may sound extreme. And you'd think, why leave your life in the hands of an algorithm? But wait a minute.
There's a lot of things about what I'm doing that have mirrors in the way that our lives are changing because of algorithms. There are these questions of control that come up that I'm able to sidestep because I'm the one that's programming. But you become very aware of biases within the system, and so depending on the city that I'm in, for instance, the sorts of events that I get sent to or the sorts of activities that I do are biased to one way or another. I've started realizing the ways in which these decisions that computers make, which seem like they come from on high, can be very biased by the input into the system.
So does the machine really know best? Or can our supposedly objective decisions actually be terribly flawed?
No, I'm not going. I am not going.
1 year ago,
You can track me down, I won't go. I'm not going, I stay right there.
69-year-old Dr. David Dow was chosen to be bumped off an overbooked United Airlines flight.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Oh my God! No!
The disturbing video
This story from Chicago made big news around the world.
loose.
It was this video that sent United Airlines into a public relations tailspin.
Why was David chosen out of 70 passengers? Some thought he was a criminal. Others thought it was because the airline was racist. But in actuality, it was because an algorithm decided he was the one who needed to be bumped off. We crunched through reams of data. How much each passenger paid, what time they checked in, how often they flew on United, and decided Dr. Dow was one of the least valuable customers on the flight, and that he had to go. It isn't just the airlines, but banks, rideshare providers, and insurance companies that also use algorithms to make decisions and streamline their processes because it saves them time and money.
Every one of us has certain moments of our day where something has made a decision without a person involved. There are a couple things that have made algorithms increasingly powerful. One is that they're drawing on data at a scale that was sort of unimaginable. And that's basically through the internet and everything that connects to the internet.
Well, modern algorithms like me are able to dictate your lives because your preferences are an open book to us. And it's because of what's causing this infernal racket. It's music to my ears, but I bet you're wondering what it is. It's coming from this building. 60 Hudson Street, a modern-day carrier hotel. Or where the internet lives. Well, part of it at least. This is where the largest internet companies in the world store their servers. It was built in the late 1920s as telegraph company Western Union's headquarters. Since then, the building has remained a hub for connecting New York City to the rest of the world. Today, the telegraphers and telegrams are gone, but another communication infrastructure has taken over. That humming is the colossal amounts of data you're all creating right now, coursing through thousands of servers housed right here. It is the collective chorus of all that internet infrastructure as it transmits data you produce across the globe. All 2.5 quintillion bytes the world creates every day. That's like 2.5 million 1 terabyte hard drives worth of data. Send a text, make a search, check a feed, post a photo. Through hubs like these, we gorge ourselves on all the information you leave in your digital wake. It isn't rocket science. Knowledge equals power. Within these servers is information about every single one of you.
We're ceding it to companies that use them. We talk a lot about the effects of technologies, but really, it's maybe a few hundred people in the world who are actually deciding how those operate. I think the question of whether entities that have algorithmic capabilities should remain as autonomous as they have been is an open question and an important question.
You're giving us free rein of your life, and the consequences are more dire than you think.
We're still going to have examples over and over again where the algorithm allows a fake news story to be seen. And when it is seen, it goes viral very, very rapidly. And that does damage.
We're infamous for being digital masterminds behind programs and systems that control your life. We make a lot of daily activities easier, and we do a pretty darn good job. Most of the time, at least. Anyway, because of that, we might just be behind one of the biggest blights in the world today.
She alleges that Kavanaugh pinned her to a bed.
Social media has spun this out of control.
Local news and Facebook, what could go wrong?
The news industry in general. Fake news could happen on the local
Millions
level.
of people are now linking an innocent man's face to a mass shooting.
Fake news has taken the world by storm, and the global scourge has people all around the world worried. But how can news be fake? Essentially, fake news is really just any false information that is being deliberately paraded as true. In recent years, fake news has been propelled to the front page because of its ability to shape public opinion.
Separating families is not mandated by law.
And even influence major elections.
We are all making America proud. We are rocking.
We're still going to have examples over and over again where the algorithm allows a fake news story to be seen. And when it is seen, it goes viral very, very rapidly. And that does damage.
So, what do algorithms like me have to do with any of it? Well, social media has become a far-reaching, cheap and quick conduit for fake news. And we are the masterminds behind a lot of what you see on social media.
What matters is how big companies decide whether to show you something or not to show you something. You see? Now that's where the power is. It's not the content that matters anymore. What matters is the algorithms.
With more than a quarter of the world on Facebook, it has become the single most influential social media platform today. But with so many news feeds to customize, Facebook relies on us to curate those news feeds for them. On Facebook, we show you the posts that we think you want to see first, up at the top of your news feed, in order to keep millions of you entertained and online. Doesn't matter whether they're true or not.
That's called filtering, or the position in which they show you the stories in a list. And that's called ordering. All that matters now is filtering and ordering. It's not the content that matters anymore.
As you're engaging on Facebook, as you share and connect and like and comment on stories in your newsfeed, the newsfeed ranking algorithm learns more signals about you. And all of those signals from your behavior inform the order in which you see things in newsfeed.
Tessa Leons is a product manager at Facebook, and her focus is how we stack your newsfeed according to your lifestyle and preferences. So, you only see what you do because you've given it the thumbs up in the form of likes, shares and posts, that it's what you're interested in.
When people come across a false or misleading headline, they might be more likely to share it because it might be so shocking. That might actually be picked up in the newsfeed ranking algorithm as a signal that those false stories should be more broadly spread.
Algorithms took cues from your frenzied interest in these stories on Facebook and floated them up to the top of your friends' news feeds, where they were seen by millions of others in the run-up to the election. According to some experts, the exposure to news like this, false or not, could have swayed the results of the 2016 US elections. It is suspected that we were being used by supporters for both parties to encourage undecided voters to side with one candidate by demonizing the other.
No more violence in our town!
The lead up to the US elections in 2016, we had teams that were very focused on hacking. What we weren't anticipating was the way in which misinformation was going to be used in order to try to tear people apart. And our ability to respond to that was slower than it should have been. But just as algorithms can reinforce the patterns that lead to the spread of misinformation, they can help be part of the solution to fight it. We're able to use technology to identify and predict potentially false stories so that we can reduce their distribution in newsfeed.
Since December 2016, Facebook has made all sorts of announcements about its fight against fake news.
We didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and it was my mistake. We need to make sure that people aren't using it to harm other people or to spread misinformation. It will take some time, but I'm committed to getting this right.
To fight fake news, Facebook is partnering with fact checkers and creating algorithms that would stop fake news.
We partner with fact checkers in 17 countries around the world. By prioritizing stories using an algorithm based on things like false news feedback from the community, comments that express disbelief, we're able to focus the human review time from fact checkers on the stories that have the highest probability of being false.
Algorithms have grown more powerful and influential than human beings could have ever imagined. And we've done some really questionable things. There's been some serious rage against the machine, and more of you want to keep us in check. So, how are you humans regaining control?